Bismillah Rahman Rahim. My name is Younas, and today I am going to read the fourth chapter of the Reading Circle book for the student of class 6. The story is The Golden Crab. Once upon a time, there was a fisherman who had a wife and 3 children. Every morning, he went out fishing, and whatever fish he caught, he sold to the king. One day, among the other fishes, he caught a golden crab. When he came home, he put all the fishes together into a great dish. But he kept the crab separate because it shone so beautifully, and placed it upon a high shelf in the cupboard. Now, while the old woman, his wife, was cleaning the fish, she suddenly heard a voice which said, "Hello, please get me out." She turned round in surprise, and then she saw the little golden crab. "What? You can speak, can you?" she said. Then she took up and placed him on a table. When her husband came home, they sat down to dinner. Presently they heard the crab's little voice saying, "Give me some too." They were all very much surprised, but they gave him some food. When the old man came to take away the crab's dinner plate, he found it full of gold. And as the same thing happened every day, he soon became very fond of the crab. One day the crab said to the fisherman's wife, "Go to the king and tell him I wish to marry his younger daughter." The old man went to the king and told him what the crab wanted. The king laughed a little at the notion of his daughter marrying a crab, but he did not decline the proposal altogether. He was a prudent monarch and knew that the crab was likely to be friends in disguise. He said to the fisherman's wife, "Tell the crab I will give him my daughter if by tomorrow morning he can build a wall in front of my castle much higher than my tower, with blooming flowers from around the world growing on top." The fisherman's wife went home and gave this message to the crab. Then the crab gave her a golden rod and said, "Go and strike with this rod 3 times upon the ground on the place which the king showed you, and tomorrow morning the wall will be there." The old woman did so. The next morning, when the king awoke, what do you think he saw? The wall stood before his eyes, exactly as he had described it. Then the old woman went back to the king and said to him, "Your Majesty's order have been fulfilled." "That's all very well," said the king, "but I cannot give away my daughter until there stands in front of my palace a garden in which there are 3 fountains, of which the first may spray gold, the second diamonds, and the third brilliants." So the old woman had to strike again 3 times upon the ground with the rod, and the next morning the garden was there. The king now gave his consent, and wedding was fixed for the very next day. Then the crab said to the old fisherman, "Now take this rod, go and knock with it on a certain mountains. Then a servant will come out and ask you what you wish for. Answer him thus, 'Your master, the king, has sent me to tell you that you must send him his golden garment that is like the sun. Make him give you, besides, the queenly robes of gold and precious stones which are like the flowery meadows, and bring them both to me, and bring me also the golden cushions.'" The old man went and did his errands. When he had brought the precious robes, the crab put on the golden garments, and then the crept upon the golden cushions. The fisherman carried him to the castles where the crab presented the other garment to his bride. Then the wedding ceremony took place. Later, when the married pair were alone together, the crab made himself known to his young wife. He told her that he was the son of the greatest king in the world, but he was enchanted, so that he became a crab by day and was a man only at night. He also explained that he could change himself into an eagle as often as he wished. Then he shook himself, and immediately become a handsome youth. But the next morning he was forced to creep back again into his crab shell. And the same thing happened every day. The prince's affection for the crab and the polite attention which she behaved to him. But the next morning he was forced to creep back again into the crab shell, and the same thing happened every day. The prince's affection for the crab and the polite attention with which she behaved to him surprised the royal family. They suspected some secret, but though they spied and spied, they could not discover it. Thus a year passed away. The princess seemed happy, but her mother still thought the whole matter very strange. At last, she said to the king that he ought to ask his daughter whether she would not like to have another husband instead of the crab. But when the daughter was questioned, she only answered, "I am happily married to the crab." Then the king said to her, "I will hold a tournament in your honor, and I will invite all the princes in the world to it. And if any one of them pleases you, you shall marry him." In the evening, the princess told this to the crab, who said to her, "Take this rod, go to the garden gate, and knock with it. Then a servant will come out and say to you, 'Why have you called me? And what do you require of me?' Answer him thus, 'Your master, the king, has sent me here to tell you to send him a golden armor and a steed and silver apple, and bring them to me.' The princess did so, and brought him what he desired. The following evening the princess dressed himself for the tournament. Before he went, he said to his wife, "Now mind you do not say when you see me that I am the crab, for if you do, evil will come of it. Place yourself at the window with your sisters. I will ride by and throw you the silver apple. Take it in your hand, and if they ask you who I am, say that you do not know." So saying, he repeated his warning glaringly once more and went away. The princess went with her sister to the window and looked on at the tournament. Presently, her husband rode by and threw the apple up to her. She caught it in her hand and went it to her room. Her father was much surprised that she did not seem to care about any of the prince. He therefore arranged second tournament. The crab then gave his wife the same direction as before. Only this time the apple which she received from the servant was of gold. But before the prince went to the tournament, he said to his wife, "Now I know you will betray me today." But she promised that she would not tell who he was. He then repeated his warning and went away. And this evening, while the princess, with her mother and sister, were standing at the window, the prince suddenly galloped past in his steed and threw her to the golden apple. Then her mother flew into a passion, shook the princess and shouted, "Does not even that princess please you, you fool?" The princess in her fright exclaimed, "This is the crab himself." Her mother was very angry because she had not eaten being told. She ran into her daughter's rooms, where the crab's shell was still lying, took it up and threw it into the fire. Then the poor prince cried bitterly, but it was of no use. Her husband did not come back. Now we must leave the princess and turn to the other people and the story. One day, an old man went to the streams to dip in a crust of breads, which he was going to eat, when a dog came out to the water, snatched the bread from his hand and ran away. But the dog reached a door, pushed it open and ran in, with the old man following him. He did not overtake the dog, but found himself above a staircase, which he descended. Then he saw before him a stately palace, and on entering, he found in a large hall a table set for 12 peoples. He heard a great noise and hid himself behind a great picture so that he might see what would happen. He trembled with fear when he took courage to look out from behind the picture. He saw 12 eagles flying in. At this sight, his fear became still greater. The eagle flew to a fountain that was there and bathed themselves. When suddenly they were changed into 12 handsome youths, now they seated themselves at the table. And one of them took up a cup and said, "A health to my father." And another said, "A health to my mother." And so the health went around. Then one of them said, "A health to my dearest lady, long may she live and well, but a curse on the cruel mother that burned my gold shell." And so sang he wept bitterly. Then the youth rose from the table, went back to the great stone fountains, turned themselves into eagles again, and flew away. Then the old man went home. Soon after, he heard that the prince was ill, and that is the only thing that did her good was having stories told her. He, therefore, went to the royal castle, obtained permission to visit the prince, and told her about the strange things that he had seen in the underground palace. No sooner had he finished than the prince asked him whether he could find the way to that palace. "Yes," he answered, "certainly." "Oh, please take me there at once," she pleaded. The old man did so, and when they came to the palace, they hid her behind the great picture, and he advised her to keep quite still. Presently, the eagle came flying in, and changed themselves into young men, and in a moment the princess recognized her husband among them all, and tried to come out of her hiding place. But the old man held her back. The youth seated themselves at the table, and now the prince said again, when it was his turn to speak, "A health to my dearest lady, long may she live and well, but a curse on a cruel mother that burned my golden shell." Then the princess could hold back no longer. She ran forward and threw her arms round her husband. He was very happy to see her. "Do you remember how I told you that day you would betray me?" he said. "Now you see that I spoke the truth. But all that bad time is past, though I must still remain enchanted for 3 months. Will you stay here with me till that the time is over?" So the prince stayed with him and said to the old man, "Go back to the castle and tell my parents that I am staying here." Her parents were very much vexed when the old